General Brar, Dr. Satish Reddy, Sita Raman, Captain Vijay Kumar, Group Captain Vijay Kumar, distinguished members of the audience, offline or online. Friends, let me start with the stellar contribution of MMA. The various programs of MMA are part of nation building. Only yesterday, Group Captain Vijay Kumar was on a common platform with me, where we were listening to former India's permanent representative to WTO talk about CBAM and EUDR. How the industry should negotiate these two emerging trends. Today we have the session on emerging technologies in defense. The current geopolitical context points to only one direction. Technology security is national security. Nations who are not self-reliant in their defense needs will never be able to pull their weight in the Committee of Nations, claim their place on their high table. As India progresses towards its goal of 2047 Viksit Bharat, the call of the Honorable Prime Minister to make India Atmanirbhar, self-reliant in defense, is very, very apt at this point of time. And Tamil Nadu, with its well-established brownfield corridor, defense corridor, with the 5 nodes of Chennai, Hosur, Salem, Trichy, and Coimbatore, and supported by the various satellite nodes, is well positioned to supply the requirements for India's defense needs. I've been associated with the defense sector for nearly a decade. My partnership when Dr. General Brar goes 4 or 5 years back, when I met him when he was DG Armored Corps. I was CMD TIC then, part of the SIDM, the Society of Indian Defense Manufacturers. Now, based on my interactions, since Dr. Reddy is here, we need our DRDO labs to be more proactive. Proactive in terms of engaging the industries. Tamil Nadu as a leading state has got the capacities in its MSMEs. It's only a question of harnessing these capabilities for dual use, both commercial as well as defense. Forging that partnership with our defense establishments. The erstwhile Ordnance Factory Board has now become corporations. You have the DRDO labs. They have to forge the partnerships for which the DRDO labs and the newly formed DPSUs, the defense public sector units, have to take the proactive step of engaging the industry. India's defense requirements will be met through twin pillars of engaging the academia, as was developed by the Western world. The defense industry must engage the young minds, seed projects in the universities, leading academic institutions. On one track, on the other track, engage with the established industries with their established capabilities. The nodes of Tamil Nadu, Chennai Auto Aerospace Hub, Hosur is emerging as the aerospace hub, Salem for technical textiles, Coimbatore for precision engineering, and Trichy for the high quality welding. These skill sets are the unique advantage of Tamil Nadu, and with partnerships all the stakeholders, the military, the labs, the defense establishment, we can position Tamil Nadu as the leading state, which can harness the cutting-edge technologies for meeting the requirements of Indian Defence Forces in the days to come. Not only for defense domestic consumption, but also for exports, which will position India on the world stage as a truly powerful nation, developed nation. Friends, with this context setting, today's event is very, very appropriate, very apt, and we are very well keen to listen to the two stalwart speakers today, General Brar and Dr. Reddy. I am sure the deliberations, their inputs will be very, very useful. There will be rich takeaways for all the stakeholders. And once again, I compliment MMA for having these sessions. In fact, we need to have more frequent sessions on the defense production, making India self-reliant in defense. Friends, with this context setting, I close my address and let's all look forward to some very, very brilliant addresses by General Brar and Dr. Reddy. Thank you and good day.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your thing. May I now request General Brar to offer his chairman's opening remarks. General Brar.
Good evening and Jayant Vanikam. It's always a pleasure to be standing at MMA where, we have intellectual discourses and especially such discourses which are helping the nation build in manufacturing, industry, scientific knowledge and such like. And today we have a topic, emerging technologies for defense. And I think we can't have a better speaker than Dr. Satish Reddy talking to us about that. So Dr. Satish Reddy, as we all know, has been at the highest level of scientific knowledge in the country, being chairman of DRDO, secretary DD and R&D, scientific advisor to the RM, and now of course he is president of Aeronautical Society. But apart from that, because of his background, he is still connected with whatever is happening as far as defense technology is concerned. He has a long list of achievements, but some of the achievements can't be even spoken openly, but there was a anti-satellite test, Shakti, he was involved with that. There are a number of programs on missiles which he pushed and they got fructified. Artillery systems, there were a number of them. He is expert in electronics and radar systems. So, a number of our radars which were imported, indigenization and plus giving us those radars, weapon locating radars. There are various types of radars which are required in the defense. So, he has been a pusher in almost all of these things. But I have a very personal connect because as DG Armored Corps, of course, earlier also I was in some appointments where one was dealing with DRDO, but more so as DG Armored Corps of my 2.5 years. I think I can again name a list of projects which I pushed, and then there were a number of things of Arjun tank, missile firing of Arjun tank, APFSDS, there's ammunition which got tested because as a user you have to push it. Then there were engines, then there is something called EMP of T90. So a lot of these tank projects, but the most famous is the light tank. So I don't know whether he will talk about light tank, but I'll just give a small introduction. I want to just tell about, things happen when people understand also. So DRDO had started a project on tank, but they had gotten advice to start it in a certain fashion with certain parameters. So luckily I happened to land up as DG Armored Corps at that time. So I also have some base knowledge. So my connect with him, I just walked to his office and I said, these parameters are not right. We may again, Arjun had again this a change of QR and that cycle of trying to make up the QR and the weight increase, and it has taken almost 20 years to take out the tank. So I told him that these QRs are not right. So we had a discussion. We had discussion with CVRD. They are sitting here. I used to be on VC with them. And finally, in fact, he said, if you are saying, and we had some technical discussion, he said, if this is QRs not, what is the right QR? Or specs for the light tank. So I said, give me 1 month. So I modified and finalized the QR. Then again we had a discussion. So I am saying what he reposed faith in my this thing, and then we and these CVRD guys, all of them are sitting here, the masters, and plus of course L&T was there. We worked as a team, and the light tank, the way it has come out in 2 years, I think it has never happened in the world. I'm not talking of India. a major platform, weapon platform takes, even in the most efficient of industries abroad, not less than 7-8 years. So it's already 2 years and it is all firing and testing. So anyway, it's a major achievement. I'm sure Dr. Reddy will talk about it also. So with his experience, and why we talking about defense, emerging defense technology, it is just not of course, it is more than that we need our own defense to protect ourselves. But the more interest to the industry is the amount of money which we are going for importing. They are in 80,000 crores or beyond per year, or values to that extent which we are importing material. That money is available to the country. So if we have to build our own country, our own industry, the Western countries, the US, I think the major share of the GDP is in this arms industry. The way they are exporting. So the same thing can be done by us. But only thing is, since we have started late, it needs a lot of, it needs an ecosystem. Like in light tank, the ecosystem kind of happened. The user was there, the DRDO, the researcher, the manufacturer, L&T, their scientists, so we worked as a team. So it can't happen one-sided. So we need to create ecosystems for each of the products and each of the technologies. And more importantly, why the private has to come in. And of course, one thing which I didn't mention, that he was in the times when Make in India was getting pushed, and he pushed it, and certain reforms in DRDO, in which, DRDO started inviting private. Otherwise, DRDO kept things for themselves. So he opened up DRDO to private. But, there is so much of scope, because, now it's a multi-domain warfare, a lecture which I'm going to take tomorrow in front of, in fact, the hierarchy of the army. I'm going there to Jaipur. So the multi-domain warfare now comprises of domains of cyber, space, your electromagnetic spectrum, and AI/ML, machine learning, autonomous, all these are what? These are technology which are there in the private industry. So it is the private industry which has to, also help us in building up this, ecosystem for defense. And there's a huge amount of scope. So I will not speak much. We welcome Mr. Sitaraman and Mr. Hansraj Verma also, as he mentioned, with him also, as I met him before I came to Chennai, because he came there because I was doing certain things. He also wanted to see how T and Defense Corridor can come up. And another thing which I always say, the potential in southern India is there, especially in Tamil Nadu, and of course include Bangalore and other places. The potential to build defense industry is here. And T and Defense Corridor, there are only 2 defense corridors. The T and Defense Corridor needs to be synergized along with everything else which is happening. So now I hand over to Dr. Satish Reddy for giving us his thoughts, and I'm sure everybody will benefit from his address. Thank you.
Thank you, General. Now it's my proud privilege to present you Dr. Satish Reddy to share his insights on emerging technologies in defense. Dr. Satish Reddy.
Good evening. Namaskar to everyone. Mr. Sitaraman, General Brar, who just spoke now, a good friend of mine, Mr. Hansraj Verma, and Group Captain Vijay Kumar, all the friends who are present here from various organizations, and my friend Sushinder, who is actually instrumental in me coming over here. Then my friends from DRDO, then we have former CMD Medhani, Mr. Narayan Rao, Professor Senthil here from Anana University, and all others who are here. Very good evening to you all once again. Firstly, let me thank MMA for inviting me to be here and give a talk on something connected to defense, technologies or how the scenario, what happens and all that. And I don't think I'll find better people to share the dais here with me. One from the armed forces of the country, General Brar, who is now more like, I call him always like Chief of Army for the Southern India. So he's sitting here at Chennai. And also where we work together, he mentioned already a little bit about it, working together on a project and making that a project success for the nation's pride. And then Mr. Hansraj Verma also, who has been very instrumental in many industries coming up here in the country, in the state of Tamil Nadu, and particularly with the defense corridor announced here and working a lot on that, and conducting many events, seminars, and bringing lots of people across the country, and many people connected to defense, DRDO, armed forces and all that. He has played an instrumental role. And even now, of course, with all the financial institutions across the country, he is trying to do a lot. So I don't think we'll have a better panel than these people to share their aspects. And in fact, I was not very sure. A lot of people were scaring me that Chennai is heavily rained, flooded and whatnot. And a lot of people asked me whether the program is there, are you coming or not? And a couple of people from Tamil Nadu, southern Tamil Nadu, were to come here to meet me. Then they said, we are cancelling our trip, are you cancelling or not, and things like that. But for a surprise here, I have not seen a single drop of rain and very, very pleasant weather. Unusually in Chennai, I am wearing a suit also, actually a coat also. Normally we don't wear here. And so such a pleasant weather environment here. Nice to be here on this day. I also have seen when Group Captain Vijay Kumar was presented, the next talk is on the something like this only, emerging technologies or emerging aerospace in the country is the next talk. So what a coincidence, defense and aerospace. Normally this is almost taken as one subject. People call it as defense and aerospace and things like that go in. And if you look at in the country, the major strategic departments in this country, the space, defense and atomic energy, we call them as the strategic departments, and there is a good amount of synergy among these departments at technology levels, and all three have come out of the visionary leaderships in this country when the country was not having almost anything, even though we got independence in 1947 and DRDO started somewhere in 1958, same thing, ISRO, atomic energy started. But then these leaderships somewhere in the 70s and early 80s brought the initial thrust to these organizations, initiated these things. Homi Baba, particularly with the test in 1970s, the nuclear test in our desert. And then Sarabhaiji, Vikram Sarabhaiji, I think when he said, imagine after about few decades, it's difficult for us to live without space. When there was nothing, nobody, almost no satellite was there, this is the statement he made. People thought, what is he talking? And it is a fact today that if satellites are not there, we don't know how to live here. Almost that is the condition. And from there, late 1970s started SLVs, and then actually Dr. Kalam himself was the project director, and then ASLV and PSLV, and now we are all into Mangalyans, Chandrayans, and Gaganyaan and space station. That's the level where we have reached, and we are a power in space, we are a power in atomic energy. Same thing, Dr. Kalam, 1982, started the major programs in DRDO, and indigenous technology should come up, and the initiation of the programs, convincing the government and bringing the programs, the missile programs, and later the tank, later the aircraft, and so many things, and which took the shape. Normally, any of the technologies you take a decade plus to mature and then move on and started. In fact, this country had the first test of an indigenous missile in 1988. That is the first test I am talking about. Till that time, actually, we didn't have a test. Before that, one test was done, which was a failure, 1988. 1989, Agni test was done. And we had a range. Before that, we didn't have a range. We had to come to Sriharikota here, close by to Chennai, and do a missile test using the space people and do it. So first, range created, and Kalam, he had the courage, he is known for his courage, took a decision, the first long range, that time it is the intermediate range we call it, which re-enters into the atmosphere, Agni, we will test it from Balasur only, our own range, where we are created, and tested it from there. And that is the point where you started going forward, not looking backward at all, and took off. And from zero, till that time the imports were more like, leaving aside chota-mota things, probably about 90 to 95% of the things were imported, almost, more than 90%. And from there the journey started, not looking back. And particularly in the last decade, the graph has changed. The slope, what was going like this, suddenly started rising. Wherever you go, everybody talks about the defense industry and defense happenings in the country. I have just come yesterday night from Middle East. Whomever I meet, India is doing a lot in defense and industry and so many things happening. I'm talking about the people who are finance people. They all talk about in such a high for the Indian scenario. So, with this in the background, I thought, let me a little bit, the whole presentation has been outlined like this. What is that we have achieved in this country till today, in a brief outline, and then from there move on to the given topic here, advanced systems being developed, and industry and academia, what's the scenario in the country, and then emerging technologies and future defense systems. This is how this has been said, because you definitely need to also know where do we stand today also, and then how do we move on. So as I said, when you look at today's self-reliance in the country, I have been making a statement in the recent years that the country has achieved self-reliance in the areas of mentioned here, missiles, radars, sonars, torpedoes, electronic warfare systems, AWACS systems, aircrafts, tanks, vehicles, communication systems, ships and submarines. And these are the areas where we are able to build our own systems, and industries have been established, and we are producing in the country, and industries have come up and all that, which you will see little more details in the next few slides. Missiles today. Name any missile, what is there in the world. Today, either the country has developed it or is in the advanced stages of development. That's the stage today the country has come, whether it is anti-tank missiles, surface-to-surface missiles, surface-to-air missiles, air-to-surface missiles, air-to-air missiles, and things like that and all that. Whichever you talk, all those things have been developed here in the country. Similarly, radars. Radars is one area where, again, we have completely achieved self-reliance, including the components. I don't want to get into too much technical terms, but there are something called gallium arsenide, gallium nitride technology. There are something called TR module, transmit receive modules. Fundamentally, from that component level, the country is able to make here. And there are many industries have come, varieties of radars. including long-range radars, which about 10 years back we were buying from outside, have been developed. Today, there are more than about 2,200 radars which have been indigenously designed, developed and produced in the country are there with the armed forces. That is the number what we have today. And many things. Then coming to electronic warfare systems. One thing is this particular area, electronic warfare systems, generally any country wants to be self-reliant. This is one area where what I do, others should not know. So you generally try to know, do yourself. Country has done well, and leaving aside the ground systems, the airborne systems also have been developed, inducted. In the recent operations about 5 years back also, these aircrafts have played a major role, and many more are being developed, whether it is on the naval front or the army side, on the ground side, or on the aircraft side. Many systems have been developed and are being developed. This is an area continuously you have to be working on. If you are delayed by a year also, your upper hand will go off. So you need to upgrade these systems continuously. That is one requirement which you will have. Then this is one story where we need to tell. Actually, again, my friend General Brar was there in the army headquarters. We didn't have a gun in this country. We didn't have a gun. All of you know that the Bofors gun became very popular to the people, and we were importing that guns, and we didn't have an artillery gun. And this gun is developed in this country. And there are two industries which are producing. Bharat Forge and Tatas are producing this gun. Army is inducting these things. All the trials are over and production started, and large number of guns are being produced. And the industry capability has come to such a level where they are able to produce large number of guns. Hundreds of guns is the capability what industry has got today. I just visited the industry last week only and seen myself the production lines and how it has come. And this gun has got a speciality also. This gun has, when it fires a shell, it's a 155 artillery gun. Even though we must have developed a gun very late and all that, but that gun has the world's longest range. No other gun in the world has the range of this gun, is what it is. Then these are the armored vehicles, varieties of them. And primarily when I'm talking in the city of Chennai, it's very important to talk about armored vehicles here. The tank, Arjun tank, is developed here at Avadi in the CVRD, Combat Vehicles Research Development Establishment. The previous director and then the previous joint director, all the others are here, who are present here. And also Arjun Mark 1 has been inducted in few numbers. And then probably you are aware, a couple of years back, Honorable Prime Minister came here all the way to Chennai to hand over the next version of Arjun Mark 1, which is called Arjun Mark 1A. He has handed over that tank to the Chief of Army Staff, General Naravane, at that time in Chennai itself, and that is also under production at Avadi in the Ordnance Factory, and numbers are going on. And next, there are many other things which are connected to that, and lots of things. So you require bridges, you want to cross a river, you need a bridge, lay a bridge, cross over it, and then fold it back, and things like that. And all that varieties are, large numbers are produced and being taken. Varieties of right from 5 meters to 80 meters bridges have been developed in the country, and many others which are required have been developed and being produced in the country. The one what you are seeing, VAP, is another vehicle which is developed, which is you must have read in the newspapers about a month back. A lot of orders are coming from abroad for that wheeled armored platform. There is a wheeled armored, not like a tracked one. It is a wheel has got and things like that. And this is another system which has been developed. I'm only giving you some salient things and not getting into it, what have been developed. So drones have started playing a major role in the warfare, both rogue elements and also the actual armed forces also started using. And you must have seen in the recent warfare, wars which are going on everywhere, drones are playing a major role. And also to secure our own assets, which are critical assets here. These drones are, anti-drone systems are very important. So this has been developed in the country. We are one of the first few countries in the world who have developed this system. And so these have been inducted by the armed forces. Bharat Electronics Limited and 5 other industries are producing this. This has been developed at various ranges and things like that, and all that is one of the new additions. When I say various systems, we are in an exclusive club of first few nations in the world. I talked about the gun, where having the gun which has got the longest range. Then there is something called AIP, Air Independent Propulsion, which makes a conventional submarine stay underwater for about 14 to 15 days. See, the submarine's actually capability is seen if he is not able to surface. Normally a conventional submarine without this system has to come up almost a day, every day. So this is a system which has been developed in the country using a fuel cell technology and getting into our submarines now, one after other started getting into submarines. So this air independent submarine propulsion, as of now, there's only one country which has well proven and incorporated in the submarines, and submarines are operational. That's Germany. That's the only country. The second country is almost nearing is Korea and India. So India is one country which has become the second country which has developed this technology and getting into submarines. Then again, my friend General Brar has mentioned about anti-satellite test. This is one of the pride which is Prime Minister Sri Narendra Modi's project. He wanted to show it to the world that India has capability to do large and critical missions, is one thing what he said. When he called me and said that we need to do this test, is his idea and National Security Advisor Sri Ajit Doval together that let us do this test. And in September 2016, they called me and said, can we do this test? I said yes. And then Prime Minister said, nobody will allow you to do this test if anybody comes to know. And so you need to be, this has to be top secret. Nobody should know. Nobody should know. Only 3 of us and maybe something like that. So very, very difficult proposition. So the very important next statement came is that if it has to be secret, it can't be running for years. Try to do in less than 2 years. That's the conditions put. Country stood up and the people worked day and night. I can't even now thank so much to all the scientists who have worked every day almost up to 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning. Absolutely in 2 years, system has been developed, and March 27th, 2019, it has been successfully launched. And the mission, we have become the 4th country in the world after Russia, America and China to do this test. And we again have a credibility there that India does is only for technological demonstration, not using the space for wars, and also we will not spoil the space. Our friend, northern friend who has done the test now, much before us, even now, today, he has thousands of debris in the space out of the test. And India, what we have done, there is no single debris today existing out of the test what we have done. That's the type of a test what has been done. The next is ballistic missile defense. This is any enemy's missile coming and you attack it in the midair itself. India is one country of the 4 countries which has developed these technologies and systems, is one thing. Next is AVAX system, which I have mentioned sometime back in the last 4 or 5 years back when we had operations. This has played a major role in this. And then we have developed our own fighter aircraft, which is LCA. We are one of the 6 countries which have developed that. Again, I think it's mentioned, forgot, that mistake should not have happened being in Chennai, the tank, Arjun tank. We are one of the 6 nations in the world who have developed their own main battle tank. Arjun, which is developed here in Chennai. And then nuclear submarine is another where very few nations have developed all the capabilities of 4. So this is the capabilities, these are some of the achievements. which the country has gained to show that we have the capabilities to do. I'm not saying that we have become a complete self-reliant. We have not got all the technologies, and also we are not the country which comes out with that advanced system as the first country or one of those countries. But then this is shown to say that the country has the capability. Country started showing up. And so if you have the vision and the entire nation thinks that we should be completely self-reliant and we also should develop all these things our own and we should be a leading nation in the world, we have the capability. With that in the background, how it is moving forward, I'll just mention it to you. So these are some of the new technologies which are being developed. Hypersonic vehicles. This is one thing. Hypersonic glide vehicle, hypersonic missile. This is one thing which you have been listening, and when you talk about Russia and Ukraine war, this particular word comes very regularly and things like that and all that. So that is one of those technologies. Then torpedoes, normally you have a range of 10 kilometers, 20 kilometers, 30 kilometers. When you take off through a missile that can have even 200 kilometers, 100 kilometers is another thing. Very long range radars of 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 kilometers. Very high endurance autonomous underwater vehicles which are now developed in the country, which are coming up in the world is one thing, which has endurance of 15 days, 20 days, 30 days, and things like that is in the advanced stages of development. And electromagnetic rail gun, not a regular propulsion based rail gun, it is electromagnetic rail gun. And new generation missiles, lots of missiles which are being developed and which have been developed. One is long range surface to air missile is one important vehicle. You people must have heard about S-400 and things like that, sort of a system. The second one you must have seen in the newspapers just about a week back, a hypersonic missile India has tested. And that sort of a missile, a long-range missile country has developed. I don't know, it's not an official statement because anyway I'm not holding the position in the government, but I would like to make as a personal statement that this sort of a missile which India has fired recently, a hypersonic missile, it's not a hypersonic cruise missile, but it is like a hypersonic cruise missile. I can say that nobody has this missile in the world. Nobody has got this missile. India is the first country to have this missile, which is a very, very, very important. You must have seen the statement given by me in the newspapers is that it's a game changer. It is going to change. It is going to play important role. I think there will be large requirements. Then ship launched, vertically launched SAM missile, which can attack. It can fly at about 3 meters, 5 meters from the surface of water is another thing. And then air-to-ground missiles, varieties of ground missiles, air-to-ground missiles. And the last one is a new technology, very, very advanced technology. It's called solid fuel ducted ramjet. If lots of tests have been done which have been successful, probably DRDO should be doing a test in the years coming soon. If this technology is proven, nobody will have this in the world. That is the type of a technology which can provide air-to-air missile in the country. Definitely nobody will be near to us also. That is the type of a technology which country is working on. This is what I mentioned about solid fuel ducted ramjet is a technology which should be coming up. Then coming to aircraft, this is a good story. LCA, light combat aircraft. And I think late 80s when our people were thinking of making aircraft, my version is I feel that our country is not in a condition to make the specifications of the aircraft what we want. We were not in that condition. So from there we could come and we struggled. There were no industries, there were no ecosystem, there was not much of a research in the academia. But then you took the decision to make an aircraft. Yes, probably we could have taken little more time than the advanced nations have taken. 2019, the final operation clearance has been achieved, and before that, Indian Air Force has placed orders for 40 numbers. After the final operation clearance, 83 numbers orders have been placed, which is the single largest ever order from Air Force. And then you also must have seen in the newspapers, Air Force is thinking of 100 more numbers. So that gave a boost to aero industry in the country. Large number of industries have come in the country, and they have developed the capabilities, which when I come to the industry part, I will talk about it. No more, see, when I joined DRDO, 1985, I don't think we would have had in the country, whole country, 100 to 150 industries working with us, and most of them were, you give the design, you give the drawing, and they do the CNC machine programming and other things like that, and fabricate it and give it. From there today, many industries, you talk about, I want a system like this. You give the top level specifications, they are able to design, they are able to develop, and they are able to produce and give it to us. And that breaks the confidence to country to go ahead with the next aircrafts which are required. That are these aircrafts which are mentioned here. LCA Mark II, which is a heavier version of LCA. And then the next one is the TED-BF, twin engine deck based fighter aircraft, which actually is an aircraft carrier we can land and take off, which is technologies which are well proven with the present LCA. In fact, I need to mention there that the aircraft carrier what we had earlier were from Russia. And you must have seen that we have built our own, and 2 years back, Honorable Prime Minister has launched the India's first aircraft carrier, which is built completely indigenous with close to about 80% indigenous content, including the steel what is used in that is developed in the country and produced in the country, and so 80% in it. On that our LCA is taking off and landing on that now. So for that we need a bigger aircraft, and that is what is twin engine deck based fighter aircraft. If that is developed, Indian Navy doesn't require any fighter aircraft from outside. And the next generation Air Force aircraft is AMCA, which is called the fifth generation fighter aircraft, which is called a stealth fighter aircraft, which becomes more like invisible to radars, and that is again. See, today, we must have seen in the newspapers here and there is a criticism that you have taken a lot of time for LCA to be developed, you have taken about 20 years, 22 years, and things like that and all that. From that stage today, LCA Mark II, when I talk to the scientists, DRDO now who are making the LCA Mark II, sanctioned about 7-8 months back, they're talking about rolling out of the aircraft next year. Just 2 years, which never heard of it. And I'm not saying that it is DRDO's greatness or anything. It is the country's greatness because the industries have come up to that stage. You don't have to do everything yourself. So you say that I want a mission computer, so somebody is ready to come up. You want an actuator, somebody is ready to come up. So you want a fuselage, somebody says that I am able to come up. That is the stage which has come up in the country today. And I wondered, actually last 15 days back I was in Bangalore, even advanced and medium combat aircraft, the fifth generation stealth fighter aircraft, they were talking about rolling out in 2026. Talking about. I am not talking about officially what it is and all that. Freely talking. So you are talking about a fifth generation fighter aircraft just 2 years from the date of sanction. You are talking about rolling out. That's the capability the country has developed. If these aircrafts are developed, we don't need any aircraft from outside at all. We will only be exporting. That is the status what we will